casting dreams until the dawn, leveling up and the world to follow. With painted heroes shining bright, venturing onward in the endless night. Where the brawn meets the brush, the story's told in the storm of imagination mold. With every stroke, the vengeance unfold, peace of our soul. Where the brawn meets the brush, the story's told in the storm of imagination mold. With every stroke, the fate to light for peace of our souls.
Hello, hello, hello. A very slightly late Minis and Muscles, but welcome nonetheless. Welcome one, welcome all. I hope you are well. I hope you're having a great week. Fingers crossed it has been a joyous week for you because it is Friday, it is the weekend. You are here watching me, Steve, on Minis and Muscles, the only place where the brawn meets the brush. And the only place you need to be on a Friday to talk geek, do a bit of miniature painting and have a good laugh. So, how are we, people? How are things? Are you well? Are you well? Again, huge apologies for being late to the stream. I had a grocery delivery turn up, so that was rather frustrating. But I'm here now. They turned up like, was it late? No, it was early. They turned up early, so it should have been later, but they turned up early. And they didn't tell me, so I was like rushing to unpack everything. I had to rush up here to do the stream, but nonetheless, we are here. If you bear with me one moment, I'm going to turn off the air conditioning because it's rather loud. Oh, there we go. I can now hear myself think. Did you catch my awful tan line once I come in there as well? Oh dear, that's terrible. Day out in the sun, but never mind. So, are we well? What's been going on in your world? Get in that chat. Tell me how you are. Tell me what's going on. Let's get a good old conversation going. So whilst we do that, I will put this cable out to one side as we always do, and no doubt we'll need that later. But what do we have on this week's show? Let's talk about it. So, of course, what we're going to be doing is concentrating on our continuation of the gunship. So some of you may notice from the Instagram account or from the Discord channel that I posted a few extra pictures up of what it's looking like so far and how it looks after last week's sesh. We're going to continue this. We also have the base to do, so I've got the base here. So I might do some bits more. I might put some basing on that. I don't know. Might put something on there. Not sure yet. But that is what we're going to continue with our painting today. Apart from that, we've got a couple of things as usual to talk through, and we have our general chat topic. And this week our general chat topic, oh, how are we saying here? It's still the workday in Florida, so I'm watching the clock. Elias says, Honey Ann, I'm sorry, Honey Ann, that it's still work hours for you. That's not so cool, but it's not long to go, so just keep Minis and Muscles on in the background with your headphones in, you know, just having a sneaky watch. Elias is saying, I painted 11 models last week. Mate, that is amazing. So Elias, you need to get onto the Discord channel and drop all the pictures of your models into the Discord so we can see what they look like. And we can talk about it, we can discuss stuff, it'll be epic. So fingers crossed you jump on the Discord. So what else are we going to talk about? So this week our main topic of conversation, I'm just bringing my second screen a little bit closer and moving some things out the way. But our main topic of conversation is how to get started into Warhammer without going broke. Okay, so Warhammer is one of our geeky subjects that we talk about here on the channel, and we're currently painting some Warhammer. So what I've recognised since I've sort of started collecting again is it is expensive. It was expensive when I was a child. It's expensive now. And ever so more with the credit crunch and the available money that people have in their back pockets. Actually, it might be nice to talk about how to do things a bit cheaper and without spending too much money. So that's what the general topic is. So if you have anything you want to talk about Warhammer and saving money, and how about how to collect an army without spending too much, then let's start sticking it in the channel and talking about it. So that's our general topic of conversation. Of course, as always, we have our muscle moment. We wouldn't be Minis and Muscles without a muscle moment. That's approximately halfway through the show. So probably about 8 or so we will do that. This week I wanted to talk about tech kind of gadgets that can help you or hinder you perhaps in your fitness goals. So that's what we're going to talk about this week in our sort of muscle moment. We are carrying on with our secondary or new sort of sector in the stream, and that is our hobby horror moment. So our hobby horror moment is going to be about the dreaded drop. And what do I mean by the dreaded drop? What I mean when you drop your models. So that's going to be our hobby horror moment. Excuse me whilst I clean my glasses. So that's what we'll be talking about in that section. And as usual, it will just be a general chat. And as one radio show says in the UK, a lazy dribble around the geek world. So I'm stealing half of their phrase. But it'll be a sort of a lazy slalom around the geek world, and we'll have a good old chat about things as we paint miniatures. So, without further ado, have you got your miniatures ready? Are you ready to paint? Obviously, Honey Ann is not ready to paint. She's saying she's still working. But she's being a good subscriber to the channel, and she's watching the channel even though she's working. So well done on you, Honey Ann. Elias, have you got your models ready to paint? I hope you have. I'm just going to open up my wet palette. So I was doing some painting earlier today, so I have got some colours in there already. And my water is not clean because I usually clean it before I come up to do the show. But that dastardly delivery guy came in and ruined my plans. So actually that's not, well, it's pretty much clean. It was clean about 5 o'clock today, and I've just put white in it, that's all. So it's gone a bit hazy. So we are ready on that front. I've got my brushes, I've got my clippers in case we need to clip any new bits out as we build the model. But let's start off with a continuation of what we were finishing last time. So let's have a look here. So let's zoom it in, and what we've got is this section here. We added this on, so actually this does turn and it does come out. But we added this on last time. And I don't know if you can see, but inside there is a little geezer as well. So we'll paint the little geezer, but I just want to finish off the blue that goes around the edge there. So I just want to tidy that up, just make sure that looks smart. So we're going to add a bit of Macragge blue into our wet palette. So just a couple of scoops of that from our brush. There we go. Just thin it out, roll the brush through. It's probably a little bit too much, going a bit too far up the bristles actually, to be honest, but let's just add this in and just finish off this blue. So that's what we're going to do today. So how was your week been, guys and girls? Tell me how you are, tell me what you're up to right now. If you haven't done so already, I would love to hear from you. Let's start filling the chat with some good old conversation. Tell me what you're painting right now, because hopefully you guys are inspired by watching the channel, so to start painting your own models. And doing that whilst you're watching the show is even better. So please do drop a bit of conversation into the chat and tell me what you're up to. Even if you're not painting right at this very moment, perhaps you could tell me what armies you're painting just in general. So what armies do you collect? Whether that's Warhammer, whether that's D&D, whatever it is. What figures do you collect? What miniatures do you collect? And what are you painting right now? So I'm just going to scroll back up to the start of my talking points, my sort of notes that I create every week about what I'm going to talk or bore you to death about. Hopefully not bore you to death too much. Let's just check on the chat. Elias is saying, I've done that too many times, kinda. I hurt my knee today. Oh, Elias, no. Okay, come on. How did you hurt your knee? Come on, own up. What happened? What went on, Elias? We want to know now. Now you've started the conversation, we need to know the answer. How did you hurt your knee? What happened? Come on, give us the lowdown. What happened there? Hopefully it's nothing too serious and you can recover this weekend. So, in general conversation, what we were talking about, I wanted to talk to you guys and girls about how to start Warhammer, because we spoke about D&D last week, but how to start Warhammer and how not to go broke. Quite a difficult task, because Warhammer, bless Games Workshop's soul, or rather not, they do charge a hefty price tag for their miniatures. Now they are very good, but they do cost a lot. So, and even some of the accessories and things like that, you know, it doesn't matter if it's a paintbrush, doesn't matter if it's paint, it is quite pricey. So it's not the cheapest thing in the world to do. It's not the most expensive, but it's not the cheapest thing. So sometimes that puts a lot of people off starting to collect. So I wanted to talk about a few things to try and help you so you're not put off. Oh no, Elias fell down when they were running. Ah, no. Dude, that's not good. Well, hopefully it's nothing too serious and you can recover. You can recover and get better this weekend, right? You can have some time off to relax this weekend and spend that time with your friends and family and recover slowly. So I wish you a speedy recovery, Elias. Get well soon. Right, so we're just finishing off the edge round here. Just because I've missed that bit out, just where I hadn't the time to finish it properly. Sometimes do you ever find that when you're mixing your paints, you just don't quite get the right consistency across. It's just either too thin or too thick. It takes you a little bit to get into it. There we go. Anyway, that looks a bit better. The actual cockpit now is kind of sealed off. Elias is saying hopefully they will recover soon. I do hope so. I do hope so. We don't want injured people here on the channel. But we have had plenty of chats in our muscle moments about how to get over injury and how to still train whilst you're injured. So do check our older streams, Elias, and see see what videos we did on that. Because you'll find a couple of talking points there and maybe some inspiration to keep you going. So what I'm doing right now is literally just backfilling a bit of colour that I missed. Because when you spray stuff on air spray, air gun or spray, you can find yourself missing little elements because you go over in like a big wave and it all looks great. And then once it dries, you go, oh, actually, I've missed this bit and I've missed that bit. So we're literally tidying up all the sort of smaller areas right now, really. It's nothing too taxing, but it's just a bit of one of those frustrating jobs that you have to do. You can't avoid. So this little bit just in here, just trying to paint that just so that looks half decent. I mean, you won't really see it when it's on the field, but just to make sure I know it's done, and I'm just finishing it off. So, main conversation. So, one of my points about Warhammer, because it is quite expensive, is secondhand. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it does what it says on the tin, as Ron Seal is the paint. You just go and buy secondhand models. There are plenty of secondhand type apps, whether that be eBay or here in the UK we have Vinted. I don't know if they have that over in the States, but we have Vinted and other sort of secondhand sites, you know, your sort of Craigslist type thing. Buy secondhand. Okay, you don't need brand new models. You know, I buy secondhand stuff. There's nothing wrong with secondhand models at all. They're really easy to, most of the time, they're quite easy to paint over. As long as the person that's owned the model before you, if you bought secondhand that is, as long as the person before you didn't coats the paint on really thickly, you can actually get away with just grabbing a black spray can and undercoating them again. So undercoat them in black. They've already been coloured, but you can undercoat them in black and paint them in your own scheme, right? Or if you're not really into painting, it means that you can get into the hobby and you don't have to assemble, you don't have to paint, you can just buy the models pre-done. So it's a win-win situation. For those that want to paint, you can still buy models cheap, because generally speaking you can find a good bargain on these second-hand sites. And you can still paint over the colours. So generally speaking, just make sure you check the pictures when you're buying, and ensure that the models themselves haven't got a really thick coat of paint on. And that way you can make sure that you're going to have an opportunity, should I say, to be able to paint them in your own scheme. If not, and the paint's really thick, you're never going to get that paint off, and as soon as you paint over it, it will then become so thick you'll lose all the detail in the model. So you see like these little sort of recesses like round here, if that was a really thick paint layer, actually the paint would stick in it. And when this is okay on a gunship perhaps, but when you get into small details like here, or small details on the actual guy inside here, that becomes an absolute nightmare. You don't want that at all. It's just going to cause so much heartache and pain, and you're going to have to clean the model, scrub it off. Even it's possible still to recover the model, but sometimes the paint does stick a bit, and especially if people have used the incorrect paints and things like that, can be a bit of a nightmare. But there are products out there that allow you to take paint off. So there's plenty of them out there. I haven't used a huge amount myself, actually, to be fair, because I either buy new or I buy second hand, with the factor that I can spray over the top. And all I do, say as I've got this model, and if you got this model from me, because the paint is nice and thin, you could just take this model, get your black spray can, spray completely across it, and go once again with another layer with your own army colour. So it's not a problem. Don't feel that you can't do that. It's very much a thing. So that's my first thing for you. Go second hand. Save yourself some money. Go second hand. There's so many bargains out there. I bought a Sisters of Battle army. They were glued together. They weren't painted, but they were glued together. And I saved myself about £25 on the retail price. That's a huge amount. That's a huge saving. So my recommendation, go second hand. Who got on the chat? We got Gav is coming in. Oi oi. Ever thought of streaming our Fortnite? I think you meant to put ever thought of streaming our Fortnite games. Yes, we should. 100%. If you're down for it, I would very much be down, Gav, for streaming our Fortnite games. That would be hilarious. We'll have to watch the swears though. That's the only thing, because as soon as we start swearing, YouTube cuts you off. I played a game of Space Hulk this week. It was fun. Oh, Elias, nice. I've never played Space Hulk. I've seen it. I've had models from Space Hulk, but I've never played it. So what was it like? Tell me a bit about it. I'd love to hear some more. Next, what we're going to do is I'm just going to glue on the edges to this windscreen. So this windscreen's got little tiny edges that basically do this. They're black at the moment, so I just need to glue them on, and then once they're dry, which will be part way through this session, we can then paint them, and we've got the screen done. Yeah, Space Hulk, never played it. Always wanted to, but never played it. Looks very cool. But yeah, something like that. And in fact, that leaned us on to our next point, actually. So you're talking about saving money, right, for starting Warhammer. Go box sets. Go buy box sets. So you talk about Space Hulk there, Elias. Well, actually, there's plenty of box sets out there that are really, really good value for money. And you can end up getting yourself a little bargain, because sometimes when they're released, Games Workshop release these box sets to try and sell a load of models, and they're way cheaper than if you bought yourself the models individually. So I think one of the recent ones is the next up-and-coming World Eaters box set. So if you're into collecting World Eaters, which is a good little faction to collect, then you can find yourself getting a really good deal there. Let's just see what this looks like here. Because the plastic is slightly short, isn't it? That looks just rubbish. Although, that doesn't even fit. See, oh god, sorry, I'm off camera. So sometimes what happens when you're building these and you spray before you're in place, where the spray and the paint is, it actually makes just a fraction too deep, so you end up getting a bit stuck. But it's not a problem. Gav is saying, I'm down, you know that. Alright, well, we'll have to start streaming our Fortnite games. That'll be good. Elias is saying, it was hard because when I played with a pro. Oh no, that's not so good. Hopefully the pro was kind to you, Elias, and didn't absolutely slaughter you. That's like me playing Fortnite with Gav. Gav is very good at playing Fortnite. I'm not very good at playing Fortnite, so he absolutely slaughters me generally. Unless we play in teams, which I prefer to do because I don't get slaughtered as much. So that means that I get the opportunity to win as well because he's on the team. We won't say too much about that. He'll get a big head, won't he? So we don't want to make him feel too good about himself. Right, next point we got to paint on this model. Let's just zoom in a little bit, just so you can see a bit more. Right, so we've got this little area here. We've got the dash. It's got a few control panels on it, so it looks like there's a grill there. So we're going to need some silver, and we're going to need blue, and then we're going to need a lot of different colours. Silver, blue, black, and then a lot of different various colours. Just adjusting my light so I'm not eating it whilst I'm leaning forward. It's never good to eat a light. I'm just going to have to lift this just slightly just so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, right, alright, I think I know. Okay, so don't worry here, we're going to go over the edges, there's points because how I'm holding it so that it stays in camera frame. I can't quite see all the edges, but we'll go back over around with black anyway, so and we'll tidy it all up. All I'm trying to do now is just get this silver trim done. So you can see the little silver bit inside there. I just want that to look half decent. There we go. Righty. So get that done. Get that down there. Yeah, if I do end up streaming Fortnite, you guys will hear me possibly swear a few times. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. So, Elias is saying he got wrecked on Space Hulk. Oh, dude, don't worry. Don't panic. It's your first time playing it as well, so don't be too harsh on yourself. Don't worry. I wouldn't be too fussed if I were you, especially if you were playing someone that really knows what they're doing. Yeah, so I liken that to, again, let's use the Fortnite analogy here, where I play with Gav. Gav's been playing Fortnite for years, so he's very, very good. I've literally been playing this year alone. I played when it originally started, then I stopped playing. So it's only this year, really, I started playing again. So of course he's going to be better than me. So what I'm doing now is, just because there's a little bit of overrun from spraying the rest of the blue on, all I want to do is just tighten up the black. So I'm just going back over the black areas, just adding a bit more Chaos Black on there, just to make it look a bit darker, and tidy that up. Okay, how does that look? Yeah, that looks okay. That's not too bad. Alright, so what else I want to talk about? Oh yeah, that's what I was talking about, starter kits, wasn't it? Get so distracted. So one of the good starter kits that Games Workshop do for Warhammer is they do Combat Patrol box sets, and as I said, the latest World Eater one I think that's coming out represents good value. And what quite often happens, Games Workshop will release a Combat Patrol set and it'll be really good value. Loads of people will buy it, they'll love it. It will sell out, and then they will change the box set. And they'll take the model out and they'll swap it over. It happened with a Sisters of Battle box set that had a tank in it, and they changed it all, and yeah, not so good. So yeah, make sure look out for box sets, Combat Patrol box sets that come out. See if you can get hold of one of those. They're generally pretty good value. So for the screen on this one, I'm just painting it silver to begin with. Then I'm going to get a contrast paint and go over the top with the contrast paint. Just to make it look a bit more screen-like rather than flat colour. I put the silver underneath, get a contrast over the top so it looks a bit more like it has depth to it. So that's what I'm trying to do. Elias says he's thinking about buying Space Hulk, but the price is insane. To be honest, I haven't looked at the price of Space Hulk. But I would imagine it's pretty expensive. Just looking at that. I'm just going to re-tidy this actually, because it's not. I've not done a very good job here, have I? Let's get these glasses on. Hold on. Let's get the geek glasses. They're coming out, peeps, early on. There we go. That's the bit. Sorry if I've just gone out of frame. Just trying to tidy that up just so it looks a bit smarter. It didn't, where I'd missed little tiny bits where I hadn't quite got in on it, it just didn't look straight. So now it looks a bit straighter, right? So I can now go back, just touch these bits up. There we go. There, okay. That looks a bit better. Not perfect, but a bit better. A bit more square, a bit more straighter. Alright, so take that off again. We've got a couple of little buttons in here that we need to paint as well. So what I need to do is grab a load of vibrant colours. That's all I do for buttons. I pick out the brightest colours that I possibly have. Things like this. I will go for things like this and this one, and let's have this pink, and let's have this red. I just pick out loads of bright colours and I just go, you know, select different ones and just blob it on there. So it's nothing like an easy process. Crikey, Elias is saying, hey, is Space Hulk really $400? Oh my lord. That's nuts. That's absolute crazy. That's really expensive. Yeah. But there are some alternatives. So what I wanted to talk about was alternatives to Games Workshop. There are loads of different ways to get into Warhammer besides buying Games Workshop. Now, yes, officially, if you go to an official Games Workshop tournament, they're not going to let you play with the models if they're not officially Games Workshop, right? That's just tough poop. That's how they work. But that doesn't mean to say that you can't play with your mates. Now, I've got loads of models that aren't Games Workshop that are they're called proxy models. So they're models that are substituted for the Games Workshop version. And there's tons of them that are out there, super cheap, that you can just use as a proxy. Now, here's an example. I bought, for a conversion that I'm doing, a Sisters of Battle tank. Now, that Sisters of Battle tank, if I was to buy from Games Workshop, that is going to cost me £55, I think it is. Right? 55 British pound. Quite a lot of money. However, I went onto Etsy and I bought a proxy model. Now, this model was actually a 3D printed one, which is kind of another thing I wanted to talk about. But it doesn't have to be 3D printed. There are plenty of other game systems out there that you can use that have models that you could just put into your game. As long as it's not, you know, oh, I'm going to put in this backpack and that backpack's going to represent a tank. You know, that's ridiculous. But as long as you're making the effort to make it look similar and all the rest of it, I think whoever you play with, providing they're a decent person, will allow it. And that means it's cheaper! Huzzah! So, it makes it cheaper for you. Now, there are loads of different paint series you could go for. Instead of going for these Citadel colours, which are quite expensive, you could try a different brand, like Army Painter. Army Painter's way cheaper than Citadel. They normally have a lot better special offers as well. So you can get like big box sets. So get yourself a big box set of paints instead of just one. Save yourself some money. So there are two good ways to be able to save yourself a few quid. It's an old set, so it's fair. Yeah, when Elias is talking about Space Hulk there. Yeah, Space Hulk is like... well, the original, I think, was late 80s. So I have a game called Hero Quest. That's an original game from the 80s. And that is made... well, it is made by MB Games, but I think it was licensed by Games Workshop, I'm pretty sure. And I was lucky enough to get that really, really cheap. You can't always do that. So some of these retro games go for an absolute fortune. They're really, really expensive. So as Elias is saying, if you're going into starting to collect stuff, some of these retro games might not be the right way to go purely because of the price tag. They're super expensive. And you can get just as much fun from other games. So don't worry too much, Elias. My advice to you would be to go and look for a non-Games Workshop version of Space Hulk. I guarantee you someone has 3D printed it, or there is another version of that game that is out. So see what I'm doing here, just by placing this blue contrast over the top of the silver. I really like that sort of effect because you get the kind of silver coming through and you get that blue effect over the top. It looks quite smart. It makes it look a bit more, I don't know, TV screeny kind of. That's what I think anyway. Oh god, there's some tiny little keys in there or whatever they are. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to need the geek goggles for that. That's a definite. Crikey, that's going to be real tough to get into. What colour should we do those keys? I reckon maybe white. Might be difficult to hide the mistake, but I think it would look really good. So let's just queue up a bit of white in our wet palette. Let's see how we do. Not wet enough is the answer. It's the only thing when you're using very small amounts of paint, you need the paint to be of just the right consistency, and you need to have a bit more of a steady hand than what I do, so the paint runs nicely off of your brush. So I'm going to have to go back and tidy this up. So I'm going to have to tidy that up with black. And then I'm also going to drop some contrast paint over the top of it to hide any of the mistakes that I've made. So I've mentioned before about when you're painting your models, contrast is a great way to hide those mistakes because it really does allow you to cover up the messes. It sits in all the gaps and it just pulls all the colours together. Go. There we are. Put that in there. Let's get the old contrast. So we're going to use Nuln Oil for this one. So let's just shake that up a sec. Hopefully that will dry by the time we go to put anything on it. But all we want is just to not get too much in there, but just to drop that across the top and the bottom. That might have taken the shine off of it completely, actually. Let's see how that dries. We'll come back to that. But we'll see. We shall see. Right, there's that done. So that's the sort of control pit done. I will put a little sort of sine wave type thing on the screen. So we'll do that shortly. Is that dry? Yeah. Let's do that now, actually, whilst we're here. Let's get a bit of green. And... there we go. So we just put a little tiny sort of line on there just to make it look like something is on the screen. Maybe we'll put a couple of red on there as well, a little bit of red, just to see what that looks like. There we go. So there's a little bit of red, a little bit of green on there. Doesn't really come out well in the camera that I'm using, but I can promise you it is there. Oh, knocking that in the way. Right, so we need to spin this around, and we need to move that because we've got to move the wings. Get the wings in there. Let's just put these back out of the way. Sometimes I get confused, and I don't get confused. I get over eager, and I grab a load of these paints and I throw them out, and I'm like, and then I forget them and I make an absolute mess everywhere. So I try to clear up as I go. Right, next on, you can see this guy that's sat in here. So we need to paint him. Difficult. What I should have done is I should have painted him before putting him inside. That would have made far more sense and would have made it a lot more easier for us. But we're doing it the hard way, so, you know, let's have a look and see what we can do. I'm going to go for Runelord Brass. Guten Abend, Adrian. Wie geht's? I hope you are well. Hope you've had a good week, sir. You just caught us as we're continuing on the build of this gunship. So we're going to have some brass for our little man in the top here. Right, so still be careful. Although you're only applying a little bit of paint here, be careful on what you're doing. Don't just slap it on. Less is more. Go steady. If it means you've got to apply a couple more coats, then do it. Right, so we're just trying to get in and get the sort of main part of his chest plate or his armour in this sort of brass colour. Once we've got that, we're then going to transition over to a silver, and we're going to start picking out points on his armour and coat them in silver, just to give it a sort of standout effect. Again, it doesn't have to be amazing because this guy is going to be behind the sort of clear plastic. Oh, sorry. It's going to be behind the clear plastic screen anyway. So he's got his little windscreen that he sits behind. Yes, good week of gaming. Oh, tell us all about it then, Adrian. What was your good week of gaming? Tell me, tell me. Love to hear about your week of gaming and what it was and what you did. Oh, there is a bit more of an arm. As I've just tilted that in there, I've just realised there's a bit more of an arm that seems to go into the side. There we go. It also goes down a little bit too, so excuse me if I just drop this down a little bit and it sort of goes out of view slightly, so apologies. I just want to make sure we're getting all the bits we can see. It's going to be like our little R2-D2 sat in here. Yeah. So what else I want to talk about? Anyway, so we spoke about start small. We spoke about go second hand when trying to save money on Warhammer and when starting your army. What else could you do to be able to make your journey into the game more cost efficient. So the one thing I did want to mention, we kind of touched on it a minute ago when we were talking about using proxy models, is 3D printing. Now this could be you having your own 3D printer, or you using someone like I do on Etsy that prints for you. Either way, there's loads of sort of unofficial Games Workshop type models that are nothing to do with Games Workshop, but could easily represent a Space Marine or a Sisters of Battle, or a whatever. So have a look on those places that are local, either local to you or on perhaps big shops like Etsy, and find yourself a 3D printing person. Or what about buying your own 3D printer? And you say, oh Steve, they're lots of money. Well, yeah, okay, I get it. 3D printers do cost a couple of £100 to buy, but the prices are really coming down on 3D printers now, like seriously coming down, and the quality is seriously going up. So what you would spend on buying a full Space Marine army, for example, what about if you spent a fraction of that money on a 3D printer and then just printed your own army? How about that? I reckon you could probably do it cheaper, especially if you got yourself hooked into the right people. There seems to be a lot of creators out there that do create a lot of models and they sell them cheaply, so they must be able to buy them cheaply. So I would guess that you would be able to do that quite effectively from what I've seen that's out there. I did look at some 3D printers myself, but I was a bit unsure because it's just more space and it's more time to do them, so I kind of got a bit lazy. I was like, oh, sod it. I will just ask someone to 3D print for me. And that's how they've printed like the little mini Steve figure and things like that I've done. We're still not at 500 subscribers yet, so I can't release the mini Steve figure for general purchase. But I promise you, when we get to 500 subscribers, I'll release it. And I reckon probably for the first 100 subscribers, I might even send them a free mini Steve figure, just for being one of the OG 100. Hey, if that's not an incentive to stay a subscriber, I don't know what is. You could have your own mini-me figure. How tempting, hey? Can't get no more cooler than that. Right, we need to do a bit of skin colour for this guy. Adrian's saying, coming to the end of Simon's Sunday game. Oh no, what level did you get to in Simon's Sunday game? Has it been going for quite some time? I don't know how long that's been going. Wednesday we killed the Kia Darkhelm, the vampire big bad in Gary's game. Oh wow, crikey. Okay, so you're almost finishing all your games then by the sounds of it, Adrian. Crikey, you're gonna have no games to play, sir, if you run them out. So what else I want to talk about? Oh yeah, with 3D printing. That sort of leads me on from talking about my mini Steve figure. I bought an STL file. Now, STL files are the files that you need to be able to print a 3D model. And they're super cheap, you know. Like super cheap, where you can buy bulk amounts of STL files of various different minis. And you can get them for almost next to nothing. They're super cheap. So there was a company, and I want to say the name was Mammoth Minis or something like that. And I think they've got a membership, right? And you pay on this membership, and it's not a huge amount every month. I think it's like maybe £15, something like that, if you're lucky. And they just send you hundreds of minis every month. You know, and this is more D&D related, less Warhammer, but that's I'm sure there is a Warhammer equivalent that you could get, is my point. So look out for people that sell STL files. That could be a really cheap way to bulk out your army. Alright, just giving this guy a little bit of flesh tone. It's a bit thin, but that's okay. We can do another layer shortly. It's no hardship. Get a bit more silver on here as well, because there's a little bit. So this little bit sort of that goes around his eye, that's actually metallic. So let's get that silvered up. There we go. Nice. Oh, there's a little sort of well, that's going to have to be a red dot in the middle of that eye thing, isn't it? I don't. Oh, sorry, out of view. There you go. That little eye thing, I'm going to have to put a red dot on that, aren't I? Has to be red, because every single targeting system has a big red dot in the middle, doesn't it? Yeah, that's exactly what it has. Not at all in real life. There we go. It's got his little dot there. Is that hair that he's got? I can't work out if that's... It shouldn't be hair, because he's a one of them slaves that Space Marines use. A human slave. I can't remember what they're bloody called now. Adrian will probably remind me what they are. In Warhammer, they were a human and they're now dead, and they're part machine, and they are robots that carry out meaningless, boring tasks. What are they called? Anyone can shout out in the channel and remind me. Say, Steve, you fool! They're called this. What the hell are they called? I can't remember. Alright, let's just give this blue colour. Just painting the cables right now that sort of lead to his head. There you go. Servitor, squarish. Great one. Well done, sir. God, terrible memory. Fails me every week without a shadow of a doubt. But that's why I have cool viewers like you guys to keep my Alzheimer's from bay. Right, okay. Need another colour cable for the other side, don't I? That's what I need. Yeah, Adrian, Servitor. Yeah, see, you got beat to it this time, mate. Normally, Adrian, you are the guy that's telling me, right? So, I think you're kind of falling from your perch there, bro. You need to up your game and get back into it. Oh, James beat you well and truly to it there. So, well done, James. Brownie points there for you. Let's just get this one done. So, again, on these cables, all I do is I just generally choose random bright colours, just because I find that they look nice. So random bright colours and add them in for the cables. It's easy to do. And then we have got another one of these little sort of lights on the side. You can again use contrast, so you could use a little contrast paint for these if you wanted. I've just gone with 2 dollops of green. It's not too bad. Are. That would be half decent. Half decent. Might zoom out a little bit for you. Oh, not in, a little bit out. There you go. There we are. That doesn't look too bad, does he? He looks okay. The skin colour though is not great, so although they would be quite pale and drained, he's got a lot of sort of the darker colours coming through from the base coat, so because this skin tone that I've got is really washed out, so I made a big mistake of adding water to it, and I added way too much water to this pot, and it kind of ruined the paint, but never mind, it still does work. But what you have to do here is kind of drag it all on and then pull it off slightly, because you can see here it's going in slightly too thick. So just use your brush to go back over the same points, just pulling the paint around the miniature. So if that ever happens to you and you find that you've just dropped too much paint onto one side or somewhere, just use your paintbrush. Don't panic. Use your paintbrush to draw the paint around the rest of the area. That's the easiest way to get around it. So other things that you can do, right? What about, to save yourself some cash, what about sharing, right? The good old phrase, sharing is caring. Everybody's got a buddy. What about going in with a mate on an army, because we're talking about Warhammer here, right? And saying, right, let's buy a Warhammer army together. So it means you've only got half the cost, and you can build it up. And yes, okay, so that means you've got to share, all right? For those lonely children, you might have a bit of a problem in sharing, but it's not that bad. It would save you an absolute ton of money, and it would enable you to build way faster, to paint way faster, and to enjoy the game quicker. And surely that is what it's all about, right? Enjoying the game with your mate? No? Surely that's what it's all about. So my advice would be, like, try to see if you could find a mate that you could play the game with and say, right, let's buy a big box set together. Some of the box sets have 2 armies in. So one of you, for example, could be, there was a box set, can't remember the name because I forget stuff, but one of the armies was Space Marines, one of the armies was Tyranids. What about going in with your mate and splitting the box set? Way cheaper, right? It's one good way to be able to do it. Or you could just, as I said, you could just split the box set. You could just collect the same army. So you're actually collecting the same army together. Sounds a bit mad, but it would mean that you could both use the same army. So you could all paint one type of army. Yeah, you'd have to share it, but I would bet within seconds you'd have an army so big and it would be painted and assembled so fast, you would have more than enough to then separate your army out. So, you know, you've got 1,000 points of, let's say, Space Marines, for example, and your buddy's got the other 1,000 points, and that makes up the 2,000, right? But you also get to enjoy other models as well. So that might be a way forward for you. Bit of sharing is caring. So that's one way that you could save money. Not the ultimate way, but it's one way. So we've got loads of people on the views at the moment. So if you are viewing and you're not chatting, make sure you jump in on the chat. What do you collect currently? What are you painting currently? Do tell me. Drop in and tell me. Especially if you're a first timer watching the stream. So just tell me what you paint, what you collect, and let's talk about that. I know the topic for the day is about Warhammer, but it doesn't have to be about Warhammer. If you don't collect Warhammer and you collect Dungeons and Dragons or whatever that geeky topic is, Pokemon, whatnot, drop it in, tell me. Let's chat about it. So I've just taken myself away from the cockpit area for a second. Right, so sometimes when I'm painting a model, and I'm sure a lot of you suffer the same, is you get a little bit of, it's like, not lazy eye, but your eyes become lazier to the area. So it's quite nice sometimes just to swap and take up another area of the item to paint. Apologies for going out of frame on this, it's just a really big mini, so it's just difficult to get everything in frame all the time. Yeah, so when you're painting and you're doing the same thing, or you've got this large area to do or whatever, try just temporarily swapping over to something different, like something really simple like that crest, right? Just paint that. Just paint that Aquila because it's completely different. It will take your mind off it and you can go back to the other bit. That's one way I find myself stopping from getting too bored, frustrated, because I'm impatient. Adrian's picking up Squarish for his spelling now. Okay, Adrian, are you looking for those brownie points, sir? Is that what you're doing? Alright, I get you. I'm hearing you. So what are you guys collecting at the moment? Drop it in the comments, tell me. I'd love to hear from you all and understand what you're collecting. So what else did I want to talk about? On our main topic, and our main topic for this evening is how to start collecting Warhammer or an army within Warhammer without breaking the bank completely. We covered things like use second-hand sites, second-hand places. For those of you it benefits that don't like to paint or build models, you could just buy them pre-built and pre-painted and just play the game. For those that you do like to build and paint, it means that you can just spray over or clean them quickly, and then you've got a cheap model rather than going to direct to Games Workshop. We spoke about using proxy models, so there are other game systems out there that look very similar to Warhammer but are not Warhammer, and you could just use those models instead. You can't use those in an official Warhammer tournament, but you can use them playing with your friends. And ultimately, we're not all going to bore ourselves and become world champions at playing Warhammer, but we want to hang out with our buddies, right? So what's more important? Having fun and hanging out with your buddies, or having a tournament complicit army? I would argue to the hills that having an army that you can play with your buddies is far more important than worrying about tournament rules. So take yourself a proxy model. It's cheaper. There are plenty of places that sell them. And talking of proxies, what about using the advantage of 3D printing nowadays? Way cheaper. So you could find someone on Etsy to print your stuff for you, or you could make them yourself. So that's buying a 3D printer and starting to do that. Hell, you could even fund your own habit by buying a printer, printing your own army, and printing other people's armies for them and selling them. So not only are you getting your army dirt cheap, but you're making money at the same time. Good business plan. Adrian's saying in chat, he's saying sometimes you can find armies at jumble sales or charity shops. Yes, very true. I would say with jumble sales and things like that, it's becoming more increasingly harder and harder to find these items, because people just seem to want an absolute fortune for stuff. You know, it's long gone are the days of going to a jumble sale and getting items, you know, dirt cheap. People are wanting top dollar for their items, and they're happy to hold on to them. Whereas, you know, years gone by when I used to go to jumble sales, or what I call them boot fairs, this for the Americans out there, that'll be yard sales. But in the UK we have like yard sales, but everyone goes to a massive field. So there's a massive field, everyone takes all their stuff, and everyone sells all their things at the back of their car. Hence it's called a car boot sale. So yeah, when I was younger, they used to be really, really good. And you used to be able to go to these places and you used to be able to buy stuff absolutely dirt cheap. And I mean, you would pay 50 pence or 20 pence or 10 pence for items, you know, that cost someone a fair few quid. It was amazing. But all these things are starting to become, because the internet's kind of broken the rules of second hand, really. It means that everyone wants top dollar. So everyone can immediately Google how much the Sun's Space Wolves army is worth, or whatever it is. So when they take it and go to sell it, it's, you know, just as expensive. So swings and roundabouts on boot fairs. I love them. Gosh, they're expensive nowadays, which really guts me, because I love a good boot fair. You just can't get them cheap nowadays. There we go, just tidying up that grill. I just noticed that I'd sprayed over the grills again, so I'm going to have to do them again. What a fool. Go. What else am I going to talk about? So, next thing on my list was going to be, after sharing your hobby with a buddy, perhaps it's that you play a bit more of a long game. And you know it's an expensive hobby, so actually you are going to wait for the sales. So, for example, because we're talking about Warhammer, you might find that when new releases come out, other box sets become cheaper. Some become more expensive, so do beware. But some do become cheaper because people don't want them. For example, Space Marines. They changed recently and they became slightly bigger and better and more badass. And they called them Primaris Space Marines. That meant there was a load of people that didn't have Primaris Space Marines. They had what was called Firstborn, and they look different and they don't look as cool, some people think. So there was a plethora of people getting rid of old Space Marines. Now, I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong, but could you take advantage of that and buy those older models? You can still apply the same rules. Again, if you're not going to tournaments, don't worry about the rules, about that you have to have this model or that model. As long as it's a model and it's pretty much the same thing, don't worry about it. Just get it and paint it, get it on the battlefield and use it. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what the bloody thing really looks like as long as you're applying the right rules. Although I say that, as long as you're not claiming that your tub of ketchup is, a demon prince, something mad like that, then people might get a little bit upset with you. Yeah, so take a look at the sales, see what's about. There's plenty of YouTubers out there, unfortunately I'm not one, that have affiliations. Where they have affiliations, it means that they get sales at certain places and discount codes. Utilise those. So, there's a couple of ones that I use that have discount codes that I use for my Sisters of Battle army, for example. Plenty of YouTubers out there that do. Don't worry, Minis-N-Muscles will have one day. But just not yet. But we'll get there. We'll get there, people, won't we? We'll have hundreds of people, and we'll have these great affiliations where I can send you links and you can buy stuff on the cheap by the end of the day's sellings. Yeah, so that does help, Adrian, when you're talking about boot fairs. So Adrian's talking about car boot sales or boot fairs or garage sales type thing. Go when it's right at the end of the day, when people are sort of wanting to pack up and go home. So that's a good opportunity to go back. So if you were looking at a Warhammer army at a second-hand garage sale, boot fair, whatever you want to call it, it might be that you've sort of gone in there, you've spoken to the people and they want, a ridiculous price, but it hasn't sold. And you've noticed that and you've hung around. Well, there's nothing stopping you going back at the end of the day and putting in a cheeky little offer. And that kind of applies to second-hand online stores. Same thing. Put your offer in to start with, even if it is cheeky. If they accept it, they don't accept it, be prepared to wait. Happened to me not so long ago, prepared to wait. So I did wait, and then... Sorry, just trying to get this into frame. And it didn't sell. It didn't sell for the price because it was just too much. So I went back with my offer again and said, look, I noticed it didn't sell. Would you be willing to accept my offer? And guess what they did? So, you know, wait out, be patient. Just painting these little hinges on the back here for the ailerons. There we go. Has anyone of you ever had a really good bargain ever? I think my best one was when a shop closed down. I managed to get some really good bargains on a few items. Some really good stuff. I was well chuffed. And that was like, I was saving about, well, I bought Mortarion, for example, which is a £100 miniature, and I paid 50 quid for it. £50. Absolute steal. Right, okay, they're done. Oh, there's some more on the underside here. See, look. More on here. Let's get those done then. So there's all these little details on these sort of bigger models that you miss sometimes. Little areas that you just forget about. So it does take a bit of time to go round and get all these done. Bit of a finicky pain in the bum thing, but yeah, you get there in the end. It's just a bit of patience. There we go. That's that one done. Running out of silver actually, so I need to apply some more silver quickly. Wherever my silver is, let's give it a little shake up on my shaker. Oh, should actually probably stop in a second and talk about our muscle moment. Because we did start slightly late today, so apologies for that. So we are running behind time. But as usual, I always forget anyway. So let's quickly finish off this bit and let's do our muscle moment for the day. Because I know you're all sat there screaming at me going, Steve, the muscle moment. You haven't spoken about your muscle moment yet. I can hear you. I hear you guys, I'm listening. So we'll get that out the way and done. So we can return to the glorious world of miniature painting. Here we go. Let's just finish off that. Okay. Is that good? A little bit more there. A little bit more there. Nice. Okay, cool. Right, place him down. Change over our cameras. There we go. I can see your beautiful faces now. I can't actually see your beautiful faces. Don't worry. Don't freak out. I haven't got some spy network of cameras going out to the viewers and subscribers of the Minis-N-Muscles channel on YouTube. However, what I did want to talk about was in our muscle moment, because we wouldn't be the place called Minis-N-Muscles if we didn't talk about fitness. We are the place where the brawn meets the brush. So we should always talk about fitness, even if it's just for 5-10 minutes. And this is our section where we do so. And every week we talk about various different topics, from injuries to supplements to training regimes. And this week is no different. We're going to talk about, however, gadgets, fitness gadgets, and what could help or hinder. That's after a big swig of water. So, fitness gadgets. Right. I had to bring this one up, and this is what kind of inspired me to talk about this one today. Has anyone seen on social media these AI fitness mirrors? Don't know if you've seen them or not. Drop it in the comments if you have seen them. But they are fitness mirrors. They're a mirror, and it's got a screen within the mirror. Right, so screen within the mirror. So it just looks like a normal mirror, but you can turn it on, and it's like it gives you exercises. It's got pre-programmed routines in it, and you follow these exercise patterns from your mirror. And it made me crack up the other day, right? Because the advert was, the lady was saying, "Oh, it's really good." I went to the gym, and I just realised the gym was so expensive. It was £50 a time. And I thought, well, yeah, okay, that is fairly expensive, right? £50 is quite expensive. But, right, she ends up, oh, so I got this mirror and I train at home and it's amazing. They've got all these workouts on here. It's connected to the internet. It does this, it does that. It tells me what to do, and it sort of showed a clip of the mirror, and it brought a little person up. So it's got like maybe a little Steve on there, and he's got some dumbbells, and he's saying, right, copy me, do this, and now do this, whatever. And I thought, great, that's actually quite a cool idea. And it's a mirror, so it actually, until you turn it on, it looks completely like normal in a standard room. And I thought, oh, okay, that's actually quite interesting. I wonder how much they are. Went onto the website, £1,000. And I was like, crikey. So they're whinging at paying a £50 gym membership in their advert, but they're selling this mirror for £1,000. That's a huge price disparity. And also, I wonder whether it sits in, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing to have this AI fitness mirror. Is it any good? I haven't personally used one, but there's a lot of stuff. Oh, hang on, what's the lie saying in chat? Do you paint other things than that? Do you paint other things than the models on stream? No, so I only paint models, Elias. So miniature models, so D&D models, Warhammer models really is what I paint on the stream. Happy to paint anything else if there's other suggestions, but they're really what I mostly paint on the stream. Back to our fitness mirror. So it does give you real-time feedback. So it sort of looks at your body posture because it's got a camera built into it, and it sort of assesses how you're doing the exercise. It gives you real-time feedback apparently, and it's on-demand coaching. So if you've got 5 minutes spare, you can go into your front room, turn your mirror on, and go, rather than having to get your clothes on, go down the gym, blah blah blah. So I kind of see how that could be really good. I haven't used one, so how good the application is in the fitness sessions, I don't know. But yeah, Adrian's saying silly money for a mirror when you could watch a fitness video for the same thing. Yeah, you know, you could watch a fitness video or a DVD, or, you know, crikey, there must be people on YouTube that do the same thing for free, right? Elias is saying, do you paint off stream? 100% I paint off stream. I was literally earlier today doing these. So this is what I was doing earlier today. So there he is, that little guy there, doing him earlier today, and a load of Battle Sisters as well. So I was doing all these. So I do paint off stream. Yeah, so I'm not sure whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Now, I have experienced some of these gadgets and gizmos that come out during COVID, where we couldn't do any fitness in lockdown, like China, that was selling these home gym kits. And I bought one, and it was absolutely useless. It's like a platform, plastic thing you stand on, put some straps on it, and, you know, you do bicep curls or alternate shoulder presses and things like that with these straps. It was useless. It was about, you know, my, you know, if a 10-year-old kid could do it, let alone anyone else. So, you know, it was absolutely useless piece of tosh. So there are things, this is my point. I'm not going to harp on too much because I've just waffled about this AI mirror because it got me going. But the point is, there are loads of things out there that are overpriced and you don't need. To do fitness, you rarely need any gadgets at all. Let's face it, if you've got your trainers, your shorts, your vest, you're ready to go. You don't actually need anything else. I could argue that a decent sports watch that tracks your heart rate is good because it enables you to be able to train in certain zones. When you're trying to hit goals, training in a zone is really important. Because you don't really need a watch to measure the distance, because you can measure the distance before you go via the internet and then just run the route. So that, you know, you don't even need a watch to do that. But heart rate is actually a very good thing, especially for racing and things like that. In competition, training to heart rate is very, very effective. So my kind of experience of sort of odd little things like those AI fitness mirrors are not very good. Smartwatches can be very good. They can help with your sleep. They do help with heart rate, of course, and sort of helping you push in that effort zone. So they do give you useful sort of long-term metrics, but again, not essential. Bluetooth smart scales. I've seen these come out. Hello, JPC. How are you? Hope you're well. Hope you're not working. Bluetooth smart scales, not so great. I did try one because I got a set for free once. They weren't particularly very good. They're just a set of scales that connects to your phone. Why do you need more stuff that connects to your phone? A set of scales is fine. Adjustable smart dumbbells. They call them smart dumbbells, but they're just adjustable dumbbells. These are really cool if you are having a home gym environment. So they're dumbbells that you have a little selector knob on each end, turn it to the right one and just lift it out of the box and it adjusts to the right weight that you've selected. These are really cool. I tried getting a set ages ago, couldn't find a set, so never got a set. But they're really good. I would love a set like that. They're very, very helpful because it's space saving. It means you've got a variety of weights. It means that well, some of them call themselves smart, so you can track by an app, but I'm not really bothered about that. It's more about the space saving, the adjustability, having one pair of dumbbells rather than 50. Cost effective. So they're really good. And then lastly, fitness apps. So you've got things from basic things like Fitbit that motivate you to do steps. If you're an unmotivated kind of person, apps are really helpful, so they can help you push towards certain goals and get you out and inspire you a little bit if you haven't paid for a personal trainer, you don't have a training buddy, things like that. So apps can help, but I would try to stray away from those that you have to pay for until you become in the zone so heavily that you feel that that is a must for you and you have to train in that environment, so you must have that piece of equipment because it's going to give you the competitive edge. Otherwise, I'd probably stay away from fitness apps in general unless they're the free version. Yeah, I think it's completely feasible to stay away from that kind of stuff. Anyway, right, so that was gadgets and gizmos that I wanted to talk about quickly on our muscle moment. My overarching sentence on gadgets and gizmos: you don't need them. You only need yourself. You need some decent training clothes. You've got the internet that you've got on your phone, and you can get pretty much everything you need information wise from the internet. So just get your shoes on, get your gym gear on, and get out there and train hard. All right, there you go. There's the fitness side done. JPC will be very happy. So let's swap back to our let's go here. There we go. Let's swap back to our camera. There we are. Let's just move that out of the way. Throw that over there. Alrighty. Okay, so what were we doing? I've absolutely forgotten what we were doing. Oh, there was some silver here, so let's just add that into this guy's head because he's got like this silver band that comes off here. Kind of connects to this part. There we go. It's so hard sometimes to get this in the right angle for you guys to see because it's so bloody big. So apologies if this goes out of shot and things like that. I am trying my bestest. Model Mayhem. Well, we'll talk about a hobby horror later. Yes, we will do that, Adrian. Don't you worry. Hobby horror is to come. If that's what you were referring to, unless you were talking about something else that I'm not aware of and I have no clue of what you're talking about. So that also might be the case. If that is, please do enlighten me and tell me what you're talking about, and then I'll reference it and we can talk about it in more detail. There we go. Just tidying up these little bits here, just because I've seen some overrun and things like that. There we go, there we go. Cool. Alrighty. So what were we talking about earlier about trying to start a Warhammer army cost effectively? And we're obviously painting the rest of our model here. So we were just doing some of the ailerons on the back here. We've done some on the sides. Let's do this side. Zoom out a bit. There we go. Bring that up. There we are. So we can now see these bits. Cool. That's the camera issue sorted. I'm looking over the top of this light, which is a bit frustrating. But it works. Yeah. So we spoke about sharing an army. We spoke about lots of different ways so far to save yourself some cash when starting your Warhammer army. Now, I really like the models themselves in Warhammer. I think they're cool. They look awesome. They're really interesting. And I can't help it sometimes when I'm looking at them online. I just think, oh my god, that's so cool. I just need that model, and I just go and buy it because I'm silly. When actually, what we should be doing, and this brings me nicely on to my next point, is choose one army and stick at that one army. There's multiple reasons behind it, but in this sort of point, we're speaking largely around being cost effective. Now, it's way too easy to get into the mindset of just buying anything that looks cool. I did that recently. I shared my pile of shame with you guys, and we spoke about that. And off the back of that video, I was so ashamed of my pile of shame, I sold a load of things. So, you know, because I just didn't need them. I had stuff that I just was never going to paint, never going to use. Why was I keeping them? Well, I was keeping them because I thought they were cool models, which they were. But you just don't need all these things. So I tried to dial it back a bit. Let's move that again. So we're carrying on with these little silver bits here just so we can get them all done. So yeah, stick with one army. Choose one army. As I've said before in other videos about choosing your army and how to choose it, don't choose it based on cost. Choose your army based on rule of cool, because it will help you and inspire you to collect, to paint, to build, to learn the lore of your army, to learn the abilities, and to actually have a good time with your army. So buy what you think is cool is the first step, and just one army, not multiple armies. Just buy one army that you think is cool, stick with it. I can talk from my own experience here because I did or have bought multiple armies, and I can't remember all the bloody rules anyway. As you guys know, I forget my words every single day anyway. So having multiple armies is no good for me because I just forget. I forget stuff. I can't remember all the blooming rules. I can't remember what this person does, what that person does. So it's really not good. And it's so bloody expensive. I know they look cool though. I get you. I know you're sort of screaming at me right now saying, but Steve, these models, they just look so cool. This new this one and this new that one. I just need to have that. I get it, right? From geek to geek, I get what you're talking about. Completely. But, come on, let's be real. We don't need it. We don't need it all. Just choose one army, stick at that army. You know, if you do get really fed up with the army you're playing, for example, maybe it gets ruined, sell the army. Sell it, buy a different one. But try to make some of your money back because it is quite expensive. So yes, one army only. There you go. Play demons, then you get to play 2 games. Ah, see, there you go. JPC coming in with a steamer of a suggestion there. Well done, JPC. I like that. So when you talk about demons, you can play them in Warhammer 40,000 or in Age of Sigmar, I believe. So very good shout. There aren't many armies that you can do that with, though. I think Chaos Demons are the only ones. Pretty sure. I don't think there's any other army that you can do that with. I think Chaos Demons are the only ones. You could possibly use Custodes as oh gosh, Stormcast Eternals, because they look very similar. They're both gold and they've got big armour. but actually the models are different. But I think Chaos Demons, you're right, you can use them in both Warhammer 40,000 and Warhammer Age of Sigmar. So that's a super cool thing to do. Good shout, JPC. Right, what else on here needs silver? I think these bits here need silver, don't they? These bits. They probably need to be silver. Right, let's get these painted. I think at some point we've got to do the bloody underside of this beast. So much to paint. Bloodletters are my favourite model, hands down. Yeah, they're pretty cool, to be fair. I wouldn't say they're my favourite model, though. But I am a theoretical good guy. I don't like chaos. The baddies. I am a theoretical good guy in the sense that I collect only armies of the Imperium. Well, I say that, I have got orcs, haven't I? So that's a lie. Generally speaking, I play good guys in most things. Even if it was World of Warcraft, when I played that, I played on the good side. In the Alliance. There we go. Just painting a bit more silver on these bits. What are we saying? Agent saying, if you get bored of any army, you could always put in some simple green and strip the paint, then do a different scheme. Yeah. So let's think of one good thing about Space Marines is Space Marines have multiple chapters. Now, each chapter has different rules, different characters, and they look completely different in the sense of the paint colour. So, to Adrian's point here, if you had Space Marines, like I've got this, and I'm painting it as an Ultramarine, right, in Ultramarine blue, if I got bored of the Ultramarines because I didn't like the rules or whatever, and I really fancied playing as, I don't know, Blood Angels, for example, then I could just strip the paint off of this and go paint it red and be absolutely fine and have some new rules. I'd have new looking models, and I'd have new looking rules to do as well. So it's kind of like a new thing. Not all armies do that, but you can do that. That's not a problem at all. Just painted those silver there up. Let's do the ones on this wing. So let's bring this here like that. There we go. Yeah, so that's another good way to save a bit of cash. Well done, Adrian. Great suggestion. What else? So, some models, and this is when you're sticking at buying, you're sticking with your army and you know who you've got, and you've got certain squads that you're building, right? Unfortunately, because Games Workshop are dastardly in their ways, part of the rules is that whatever model you have, if you glue a certain weapon to that model, then that weapon is the only weapon that that model can use in the game. You can't theoretically use a different weapon. Now, if you're playing with your buddies, I think it's fine. But tournaments certainly won't let you change your model over. So how could you get around this? Well, what about magnetising all of your weapon variants? So you could easily magnetise all the different weapon variants so you can just swap them out. So that means you don't have to buy new models. It means you've got this one set that is versatile and can be used for anything. So it's a great way to save money, magnetising your models, right? Same with things like Titans, which are massive, gigantic Ed 2.0 style Robocop sort of robots. You know, they come with a variety of different weapons, and some weapons you will want to use, some weapons you don't. So what about magnetising those weapons so that you can use any of them at any time and just swap them out? It means you don't have to buy multiple armies or multiple same of the squads just to get the same effect. Less time painting. Super good. So there's another recommendation to save a few quid on your Warhammer models. What else is saying in chat? Thunderhawk looks pretty sweet. Thanks, dude. Yeah, it's looking nice so far, right? I'm enjoying painting it. It's a bit of a difference from painting a squad or the diorama that we did in the last models that we did. So it's actually looking very nice. So they look, got a little guy in there. There you go. You can see the screens. So it's actually coming along very nicely. So I'm quite happy with this so far. I love the clean look on it as well. So when I paint my models, I often paint them to sort of look quite clean. And this is certainly looking clean and smart and smooth. So I like it a lot. JPC is saying, I do not like building blood letters though. Yes, because they're fiddly, right? Which leads me on to my hobby horror story. And the hobby horror for this week is the dreaded drop. Now, JPC has raised a great point here. He doesn't like building blood letters. Now, for those who don't know, blood letters are quite fiddly to build. They have very small little tiny bits that could break off. Just like my good old Sisters of Battle, right? So let's bring this model in. Let's just change the camera for a sec. Oh, no, let's use this one. Let's just bring this in here. Oh, we want to zoom in. There we go, right? So if you look at this model here, she has got tons of really small, intricate pieces, and they can just snap off. Like the other day I was playing with a painted version of this, and this part snapped off. Couldn't believe it. Snapped off, lost it. Great. Let's fix it. In fact, look, it's actually here. There you go. It's actually there. There's the bit that snapped off. So the dreaded drop is what I wanted to talk about in hobby horrors today. So let's just switch in fact, no, let's carry on painting whilst we're doing it. So every hobbyist will know, JPC can jump on this because he's talking about blood letters. I reckon everyone here has dropped miniatures at some point when you're painting them, whether it's a big old gunship like this or whether it is something small and intricate like my Sisters of Battle. We've all dropped these items. They are a pain in the arse and they're super delicate. So I had a situation the other day, and this was my hobby horror, where I was playing Warhammer with my two buddies, and a mate of mine said, oh no, I don't want to pick up, and he refuses to pick up my models and move certain ones because they're so delicate. So he's talking about my Seraphim. So the Seraphim models are the flying Sisters of Battle, and he will not pick them up for love nor money. Not because he's being a douche, he just doesn't want to break them because they're so fragile. And he said, oh no, I don't want to do that, I don't want to break them. I said, oh no, it'll be alright. I picked it up, and what did I do? I grabbed it and I broke the bloody thing. Absolutely peed off, to say the least. Yeah, I wasn't too happy about that, but I did laugh, but it is frustrating. So what can you do to stop your models breaking, to avoid this hobby horror moment? Well, ultimately there's not a huge amount you can do, right? You're kind of limited. But there are a couple of little things that might help. Now, one of those things you could do is you could use the correct glue. Now, what do I mean by use the correct glue? Well, there's plastic glue and there is super glue. Super glue will stick anything, but it will be quite a brittle bond. So when something is dropped, it will instantly snap. Whereas plastic glue melts the plastic together so that the bond is far stronger. Doesn't mean it's impenetrable, but it does mean it's stronger. So it gives you the opportunity, and I have dropped models before and they've bounced and survived. Okay, so use the proper glue. If you're using plastic models, use plastic glue to affix them together. If you've got a pewter or a metal or in fact some resins as well, they require super glue. Plastic glue won't hold them together. They require super glue. And you'll just have to kind of suffer through any breakages with those. But, you know, metal figures tend to last better anyway. They're not really going to break as easy as a plastic mini. But, you know, use the right glues to start with. How about another idea here? Everyone plays on a table, okay? So when you're playing Warhammer, you play on a table. Now, tables made of wood, pretty hard, yeah? All agree? I think so. So why not buy yourself a gaming mat? So I recently got a gaming mat for my table, and it's a neoprene mat that goes over the entire table, and it's got a lovely battlefield drawn on it, so it looks super cool. And when you drop your minis on it, it takes a little bit of the bounce out of it, so they're more survivable. So actually, the neoprene mat is really, really helpful for keeping your minis alive. So there's a tip for you. Get yourself it is an expensive solution, I get it, but it does help. A, it makes your games look really cool, and B, if you do drop a model, it does give you a little bit more survivability. And it might mean that your models actually last and come out the other side of it. But sometimes you just can't help it. They do just break. What else could you do when trying to make sure that your models are well looked after and they don't break? Well, what about in transport? So quite often when you're transporting your models from your house to your buddy's house, you know, they get rattled around, and you wrap a few in a bit of toilet roll or something to keep them protected, and they rattle around, and then they break, right? Well, how about getting a proper transport case? Now, you can go fancy pants and get a proper transport case. Green Stuff World have a lovely backpack which is about £60, and it has magnetic sheets and little things. In fact, I've got one here, look, I can show you. So like this here, let's just swap the camera just so you can see. There you go. You've got a magnetic sheet. So there's all my girls there, look, and it's just a piece of wood with a magnetic sheet stuck to it, and it self-sticks, and there you go. And I've just put magnets on the bottom of every one of those girls so they don't fall off. They then go inside the backpack, and you can just walk around with it and travel to your mate's house without your models breaking. However, you don't have to buy a fancy backpack. I just quite liked it. I just wanted to put something on my back. It was easier to carry. But you don't have to do that. What you could do is you can buy yourself just a plastic tub of any sort. Get that plastic tub, and I mean like this kind of style. Like this kind of plastic tub. You can affix, again, those magnetic A4 sheets to the bottom of it. Put the magnets onto your minis, and then, I don't know if all of these are magnetic. Oh no, not all of these are magnetic in here, but I hadn't finished magnetising them. But you get the point. This one's not magnetized. Yeah, some of them aren't. But if they are, they stay still and they don't move in your box. So, you know, and what I did with this one, actually, when I took this to a mate's, is I just surrounded the models that weren't magnetised with the ones that are, so that they just hold them all in one place. But they do need magnetising. But that's really cheap. So you've got the sort of expensive premium version of buying a backpack specifically made, or you make your own with, you know, plastic containers and magnetic sheets. Easy. What we're saying in chat, Adrian's saying plastic glue won't protect a land speeder's antenna from snapping. No, very true, Adrian. You're never going to protect the little things like that. It's so hard. Models are really difficult to protect, so we can only do so much. But if you used plastic glue to build the model, and then you magnetise the base and put the base into a pot like I've shown you, or one of those boxes, it wouldn't go anywhere, so there's nothing to fall on it. So effectively, it would last. Gaming mats off, no cover. Gaming mats off no cover. I don't know what you mean by that. Are you getting sponsored by those guys as you always give them at least one free endorsement each live stream? Which one? Oh, Green Stuff World? No. I just like the stuff, mate. To be fair, I wish if they would sponsor me, that would be awesome. But I don't have enough followers or anything like that yet. But they just do some good stuff. They do good paints. They do... Like, that backpack was 60 quid. If you go on Amazon, they're like £120. I don't want to spend £120 on a backpack. Green Stuff World was 60 quid, £62 I think it was, including delivery. So it's just good. It's just good stuff. That's all. That's why I speak about them. I wish I was endorsed. If I did, I'd be plugging my use Minis-N-Muscles discount code in the checkout. You know, I'd be saying that. Yeah, magnetic trays, Adrian. Gaming mats are flat. Yes, they are. Gaming mats are flat, but you then put your terrain on the gaming mat. So that's how that works. That's how you build up your environment. So that's what I do. In fact, I've got it just behind us here. Set up, or kind of set up amongst everything, all the rest of my crap I've got about. So yeah, so those are my couple of things. So try not to drop your miniatures. It is inevitable. You are going to have to drop them. Oh, sorry, you will drop them at some point. That's just part of hobbying. But make sure you've used the right glues to get them together. That's really going to help you. See if you have got a gaming mat to go across your table. That will really help protect them if you do drop them whilst you're playing the game, or you drop them whilst during setup. See if you can transport them correctly in something nice to keep them fresh and to keep them safe. That's good. So either a backpack or a magnetized sheet in a plastic box. That would be really helpful. And if it is, if you do break it, you know, hey ho, we can fix it. Glue will fix everything and repaint. It's not a problem. There's a hobby horror moment for the session. Let's go back to painting. So what's Adrian saying? He said no, gaming mats are flat, hence give no cover. I still don't get what you mean, mate, because yes, gaming mats are flat, they give no cover, but you put terrain onto the gaming mat, on top of the gaming mat, so you have cover. So that's all you do. So like you get items like this. Let me grab it. So you've got your gaming mat that looks like a wasteland, for example. On top of the wasteland, you put this. There you go. So you put this on top of the wasteland. All right. That gives you cover. All right. You could have this. You could have a building or whatever it is. So you've got cover available. I think that's what you mean. If not, I'm really confused. I don't understand. It's late. It's Friday. Anyway, back to the model. There we go. Alrighty, so we've covered a couple of these little points. We've done the sort of little bits around here. We've done the tips of the missiles there. We've done the grills. We've done those back bits. What else we've got? We've done the same this side. We've done our little guy here. He's looking actually quite cool in there. I don't know if I can zoom in enough. Whoop. There we go. There we go. There you go. There's our little guy sat in there. He has his little keyboard in front of him. There you go. There you go. That looks quite cool. He's sat in there, our servitor. So we've got him painted. So it's probably the next steps actually would be to paint some. To add some. Actually, we've got these weapons here on the side, haven't we? We should probably paint those. Okay, let's do those. Let's do those. They have got a little bit of run over of blue as well, so let's just correct that whilst we're here. Yeah, so that was our hobby horror moment. Talking about dropping stuff. It is going to happen, guys. Don't panic about it. We can fix it. It's just frustrating. And sometimes there are models that are far more delicate than others. So when you're looking at building an army, perhaps that's something that you want to choose, right? So we're talking about being cost effective when you're choosing your army. Well, why not also think about the army you want built upon, or based upon how durable the model is. Now, obviously, they're not going to be like bricks, but they might be strong enough to withhold, or they might be strong enough to stand up to a little bit of punishment. Like Space Marines, for example, they take a tumble well. If you drop a Space Marine, they generally don't break. But if you drop a Sisters of Battle, especially things like Seraphim, or maybe as JPC saying Bloodletters or something like that, or Adeptus Mechanicus, they've got some really finicky models. You can always lose one through dropping because they're just so dainty. So yeah, be wise in what you pick in terms of your army, because it might determine how durable they are. But what else can we do to save money on buying our Warhammer army and setting it up? Well, there's a couple more things that I did want to talk about. I know we're running out of time, kind of. But this paint's way too thick. I think I've just dipped my brush in an old bit of black, and it's really thick and heavy. It's not gone on very nice at all. So I'm just trying to water it down. So what's happened here is the paint's gone on really thickly, so I've just got my paintbrush, rinsed it off in the water, applied a bit of water, and I'm going back with the water on the brush, and I'm trying to spread that paint about and take a bit of the layer off, because it's just a bit too thick. There we go, that's a bit better. Okay, let's add a bit of water on there. So sometimes, even with a wet palette, things do dry up, so just do be careful. Don't get caught out like I did just then. Do be careful, I tell ye. Right, all I wanted to do here was just reapply the black, because I'd lost some where I had a bit of overspill from the spray. So sometimes when you're spraying air gun or can, you can have a bit of overrun. So just watch it, just be careful, just be gentle with the spray. Try and do the best you can. But you might have to do what I'm doing here and just go back over an area, right? It might just be helpful. But going back over the areas, sometimes it just brings out the colour more. So it just makes the black look, in this case, makes the black look more black. There we go. So what stops your minis falling off of plastic buildings and getting damaged? Well, the mat, because it's neoprene. So they bounce rather than hitting a hard table. They bounce better. That was my point. That's what a mat does. It's because it's thick. It's neoprene. It takes the energy out of the fall. And the buildings aren't that high either. Crikey, they're not skyscrapers. So generally speaking, it's not too bad. But thank you, Adrian, for your concern on my minis. I appreciate it, sir. So we're coming up to the end of the show. We're sort of just finishing up. What I'll do is finish up this little piece now. Did I have any other parts? Oh, yeah. I wanted to talk about free online resources. So there's plenty of free online resources, be that rules. So it's cheaper to buy rules and get them free and online from various different places if you're starting a Warhammer army, rather than buying the book, which is quite expensive. Check out online places to see what you can get for free. There's always loads of it about. So have a look and see what you can find in your online resources out there. There's plenty of it. Tools like Warpedia. It's got an orc name, but it's okay, it's alright, don't worry. But Warpedia's got loads of good rules that are available for free. Battle Scribe is an app that's for free. YouTube is a great place to go for rules and tactics. Yeah, and that's it really. That was all my points for saving a few quid whilst you collect your Warhammer army. So that brings us to the end of our show. What's Adrian saying in the chat here? You could have already painted the storm bolters by making a sub-assembly. Yes, I did say that earlier, mate. You missed out when I was talking about the server tour. You know, sometimes it is better to paint things on the sprue or just sub-assembling. So you build the element and paint that element and then put it all together. I get impatient and I just want to put it all together and throw it together and make it look cool. So then you suffer later. But yeah, it's very good. Elias is saying, I like Warpedia. Yeah, it's very good. Warpedia is a really good. I like it. It's a very cool little place to go to get some rules and bits and bobs. Army Builder, Adrian's saying, yeah, Army Builder is another great place. Very cool indeed. But that does bring us to the end of the show. It's 9 o'clock. It's been 2 hours on the stream. We've been streaming up like no man's business here. So, as always, I wanted to say a big thank you to every single one of you. Whether you're watching the video live now or whether you're watching on catch-up, whatever that is, I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much. Please make sure you like the video when it's posted. It'll be posted straight onto YouTube after this. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you turn on notifications so you don't miss any live streams. Share this channel with all your friends so all your friends can jump on here and say hi and we can build up a good relationship with everybody. Elias is saying, okay, bye. See you later, mate. And also, please don't forget, next week, and I will put this on in the Discord, I'll put a short up for YouTube, possibly, and I will put it on my Instagram. There'll be no Minis and Muscles next week. I'm on a holiday next week, so I will not have access to my models, so I won't be doing a live stream. Okay, so there's no live stream next week, but there will be one the following week, all right? Anyway, thank you all very much. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Big love for joining. I will see you all in 2 weeks' time. Have an absolutely wonderful weekend. It's Friday. You've earned the weekend. So get to it. Geek it up. And I will speak to you all very, very soon. Take it easy. Ta-ra. Bye-bye.
Minis and muscles with heroes rise. From tiny worlds to mighty skies. Rushing air with power we fight. Strength that breaks you. Night in the night. Where the brawn meets the brawn. The starry stone. In this love imagination mode. With every stroke. Adventures unfold. Minis and muscles. Heart and soul. Guidance in hand and worlds to explore. Roll the future, hear the dice roll. Gaming realms of muscles drawn. Together in this place where we belong. Golden spells casting dreams until the dawn. Leveling up and the world's gonna